Sean Hannity is dutifully following Donald Trump's lead in calling for voter suppression with the use of poll watchers. And he invited another voice on his show against voting rights to galvanize this point. Let's see what these two guys had to say.
My advice, Ari, is simple. Poll watchers everywhere. They double checking signatures, making sure, lawyers everywhere. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he also needs an army of lawyers. They're gonna need an army of lawyers to go up against the Democrat army of lawyers. And I hate this, Sean, because I went through the recount in 2000. This is not good for the country if we have a disputed race. But take a look at what happened in the 2008 race between Al Franken in Minnesota and Norm Coleman. Norm Coleman won on election day. And then through Democrat lawyers, they started to engineer every kind of trick in the book, change that you could find. 25 precincts in Minneapolis had more ballots cast than there were voters registered. And when it was brought to the attention of the judge looking at the recount, he said, there's nothing we can do about it. It's too late. We can't uncount those votes. Donald Trump and the Republicans better have that army of lawyers ready to go toe to toe with the Democrat lawyers who are going to try to ex post facto change every rule in the book to give themselves the advantage.
Which rules of which book do you have documented that they're looking to change for this election? So when you're hit with a litany of constant accusations that are based in predictions, which are based in nothing, how it's part of the ploy. How do you reject it with other facts when they're not giving you anything to start with? We're going to get to another video, but I want to get your response to what Ari and Hannity had to say.
Okay, so what they had to say is, you know what, it really just sounds like a veiled effort to intimidate people at the polls. And also they want to undermine the thought that voting is illegitimate, that there must be something in the voting process that won't work in their favor, and thus it must be policed in some way. When I worked for the US Attorney's Office out in the Southern District of New York, I was in the Civil Rights Unit, and I was one of the polling people in terms of if there were issues at the polls, whether there's discrimination or people are being kept from voting, I would have to field the phone call on election day. And I can tell you, there are plenty of kind of checks and balances out there, and whether it's voting commissions, boards, US Attorney's Office, different government agencies and entities that police voting. And this thought that there's something wrong with the system, it's just a way to undermine the vote in the event that Trump does not win.
It's crazy because, as we already know, the Voting Rights Act, elements of that were stripped because they're like, oh, we don't need that anymore. There's no one worries about voter suppression in this country. Whatever laws are put in place to make sure criminality doesn't happen, and then the crimes go down, it doesn't mean you take away the law so those crimes can be around some more. Bank robberies are down in the country, so therefore, robbing a bank is no longer illegal. What sense does that make? It's illegal, and it's supposed to be a deterrent from doing the thing because there's a consequence to doing it. So if you take away that consequence, what keeps people from doing it? Oh, you mean the people that actually want to do it are the ones taking away those consequences. By the way, I just want to point out, Hannity started that little block talking about poll watchers because in-person voting is going to be a problem. And this is apparently a novel idea from Hannity. But let's see who else maybe had something to say about this on his show just a week or two ago. Let's hear who else with Hannity is talking about watching polls.
To have poll watchers? Are you going to have an ability to monitor to avoid fraud and cross-check whether or not these are registered voters, whether or not there's been identification to know that it's a real vote from a real American?
We're going to have everything. We're going to have sheriffs, and we're going to have law enforcement, and we're going to have hopefully US attorneys, and we're going to have everybody and attorney generals.
We're going to have the police, we're going to have law enforcement, we're going to have general attorneys, we're going to have dogs, we're going to have attack dogs. And generally, just hearing that cadence, my first thought is he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not even planning on doing this stuff. The idea is to intimidate people before that point. And then if there's poll watchers that want to show up because there's some Proud Boys from Tennessee that want to run up and start intimidating people, they'll do so. But Trump isn't going to implement any policy to try to have poll watchers, law enforcement, and attorneys general show up and everyone sit at polling locations. This is a call and a directive, I think, for his people to maybe do so, that he's not quote unquote endorsing directly or making happen. I think it's just another ploy to do that same thing.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. This thought that they're going to intimidate people, that maybe, so-and-so looks suspicious, so I needed to police them. We're going to have this militia involvement. And again, it's just nonsense, this thought that there is significant voter fraud. Like the Brennan Center for Justice, it's a nonpartisan law and policy institute. They did a report reviewing elections and they meticulously studied voter fraud to find that the incidence rates are between 0.0003% and 0.0025%. I don't do numbers, but I can damn sure tell you that ain't nothing. We don't have a voter fraud issue. Nobody's trying to stand in line to cast a vote multiple times. The only people that try to do that are the people that you hear saying that they're a voter fraud issue.
Yeah. So this, those huge numbers that you cited, Adrian, are going to subvert this election. It's going to, everything that Donald Trump has worked so hard for is going to be turned upside down for that. What did you say? 0.003% or 0.0003?
The latter, 0.0003%.
That's insane. It's insane. But enough people will be freaked out by that thought process. Oh, by the way, in-person polling. When this whole time we've been talking about mail-in ballots, because by the way, we're talking about mail-in ballots so much lately because fewer people are saying they're going to go to the polling locations because of the outbreak and the pandemic. So the original worry, which has been years of Republican making, is look out for the polling locations. People are voting twice. People are fraudulent. People are showing up and they're illegal immigrants. All this stuff that they keep saying, that's supposed to be the talking point. But now that COVID has thrown this into more of a mail-in thing, they're doing the same thing for mail-in ballots. So keeping along with that, Hannity's on the Fox side of it doing this, but the Fox business version of him, Lou Dobbs, went on to discredit mail-in voting because they have to cover all their bases for their leader. So let's go to this graphic from the Media Matters staff, where Lou Dobbs said, well, who decided what these ballots would be in the mail to whomever without any control and at the complete control of the postal union workers who support left-wing radical Democratic candidates. I mean, how could this happen? Based on what, Lou? So these postal union workers who support left-wing radical Democratic candidates, whenever they say that someone who's a part of any kind of agency or deciding process is a Democratic voter or supports Democrats, therefore they don't have any kind of credibility. What makes us want to listen to you, Lou? Who obviously you're a serious kneeler for the president, and all you do is back up everything he does and excuse all of his wrongdoings. So what gives you any credibility? If we're going to go with this thought process of anybody who's not a Republican voter that is not legitimate, that means every Republican voter who says the opposite is not legitimate. It just means you have a point of view, so therefore you don't get to talk about it. I invite you to shut up, Lou Dobbs.
I think that's a really great invitation, and I do hope he accepts it. And in the meantime, I'll point out that this effort to undermine USPS, which we saw very much by them taking away the letter sorters and whatnot, it's nonsense again. This thought that we can't have mail-in votes and that it's not trustworthy. Something I'd love to point out about the US Postal Service is that back in 2012, which was just a few years ago, that it was the #1 efficiency mail deliverer in the world of all the other global economies. It scored the highest in terms of delivery of letters per employee, beating out Japan and a number of other nations. USPS has it down, but unfortunately the Trump administration is doing everything to try to bring it down so that it cannot provide these mail-in votes. So people, their voices aren't heard, and who they actually want in office doesn't come to pass.
I'm trying to figure that, in fact, the way that I would go about it on election day. And I mean, we're in California, and people like to say California, it's already decided, so who cares? It doesn't matter. I still want my vote counted. I'm sorry, I want my vote counted. And so in other states where it's more of a battleground thing and it's more decisive, people need to come up with a plan. Whether you're going to try to do it in person and then or potentially brave the look of intimidating voter tactics, intimidation that'll happen from some of his street soldiers. That's something you have to take into consideration. Mail-in ballots is something else that's being attacked. that you have to take in consideration. So it's hard to come up with a direct plan of how you're gonna do it. And everybody's situation is different, but the hurdles are all put in place. And I think it's pretty obvious as to which one of these political parties is enjoying those hurdles.
Absolutely. And something to note too, I very much, being in California too, do want my vote counted because I plan to talk a ton of trash in the event that Trump has a second, administration. I really want to be able to just treat people terribly on social media who had the nerve not to vote or who voted for him. So my vote will be counted. I really need to preserve that right.
I'm down. I love it.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.